Well, I just saw M3Gan 2, and I am shocked. That's an inside joke. You win, Nick. M3Gan 2 stars Allison Williams, Jermaine Clement, and is directed by Gerard Johnstone.
Are you going to stand in my way? Hold on to your vaginas.
What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new 2025 review for M3Gan 2. It feels like the other movie just came. Did it come out last year, or maybe it was the year before, something like that? But my backstory on the first M3Gan is I'm not the biggest fan of it. I've given it quite a few chances, maybe 3. I could just never get on board with this movie, and it's simple for me. I don't like the characters. I think the aunt-niece duo, they kind of felt lifeless in the movie, and I think the horror was on the very light side of the movie. I just didn't think M3Gan did enough in the movie. So those are my issues with the movie, and I've often said that as far as the AI robot doll movie goes, I much prefer the Child's Play remake, which everybody seems to shit on. But if you really look at that movie, it's a fun Christmas movie. There's tons of comedy, tons of action, tons of blood and guts. I don't get it, guys. I just don't. Explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old, okay? Because I don't understand why you guys don't like the Child's Play remake. Outside of him not looking like the traditional Chucky. I just look at it as a separate thing. You know, maybe that's because I'm not a Chucky fanatic. Maybe I can be fair about it. But diving into this review, let's give you a quick plot synopsis. If you remember in the last movie, M3Gan caused a lot of trouble. People died. And so they ended her. And in this movie, of course, she comes back. And they need her to come back because there is this threat that goes by the name of Amelia. Look, just think of movies like Terminator 3, okay? Or pick your sci-fi robot poison. Hell, you can even compare this to Life Force a little bit, although that movie is a very different movie for obvious reasons. But you get what I'm saying. As far as clothing the robot, this movie goes the opposite direction. Although they're vampires in Life Force. Why am I stuck on Life Force? Jesus, once you get to talking about Life Force, you can't stop talking about it. For obvious reasons. But yeah, in a nutshell, this plot is M3Gan versus Amelia. That's what it is. And when you watch the trailer, it pretty much spells that out. There's going to be a big showdown at the end of this movie between M3Gan and Amelia. And if you go into this expecting that, you will definitely get that and then some, but also some surprises. Let's dive right into a pros and cons type fashion for this review. I don't always say, let's give you the pros and the cons. I'm not as structured as maybe I should be, but for this one, it's easy to do that, to break it into pros and cons. And I will say, I actually liked this movie quite a bit. But what you need to know is this is an action movie. It's a sci-fi action movie, much kind of like how the first Terminator was more of a horror movie, whereas the second one was a sci-fi action type movie. But this movie has just so much more going on and so much more life to it than the previous movie, in my opinion. Hell, the first movie feels like a much smaller movie in scale than this one. This one feels like they put a budget behind this movie. There's just a lot going on, and I could really dig deep into the weeds because of all the characters and the AI tech and the government trying to control these robots. And you don't really need to do that, though. On a surface level, really, it's just a fun robot versus robot type of movie. But I have to say, let's start with Gemma and Katie, because I just did not like their personalities whatsoever, especially Gemma in the last movie. She was just really cold, which is what that character is supposed to be. But I didn't feel like there was much of an arc with her, I don't mind characters like that in movies as long as there's some sort of arc or some sort of lesson to be learned. There's a lesson to be learned, but you still kind of are annoyed with her by the end of the movie. And Katie just didn't really have much to play with, honestly, in the movie. She's really just being controlled and protected, sort of, by M3Gan. Well, in this movie, both those characters, thankfully, I like quite a bit. They both have much more of a personality. Katie is much more hardened from the events of the first movie, and she's more of a badass in this one. She knows how to fight because M3Gan taught her how to fight. There's some fun little Steven Seagal nods in this movie, surprisingly, which I did not expect, and I got a good laugh out of them. But also Gemma I don't want to spoil anything, but I will say, and this does go into the spoiler territory, so I can't tell you much about it, but she really shined in this movie, especially in the third act. That's all I'm going to say, but I was quite shocked by how much I enjoyed Gemma in this movie. I think Allison Williams must have loved the direction they took her character here, because I sure would have. Now let's jump over to Megan the doll, the main attraction. I think she is so much more fun. I think she's utilized in such a better fashion in this movie. This does what a sequel should do. Much bigger, much better, and she's really just more fun. As a viewer, you're going to have so much more fun with Megan in this. She has a lot of quippy one-liners in the movie, but she also kicks major ass. I think the choreography in this movie, as far as like fighting scenes go, is awesome. You could look at this as just a straight-up action movie, and you will have a blast. There's tons of it in this. And before I jump over to a couple of my cons, I will say the audience for this, they were having a freaking blast. But funny enough, I was sitting next to someone who was literally like, just like, this movie must have been like the greatest experience of all time for him, because he was literally just laughing at every single thing in the movie loudly, like very, very. Have you ever been to a theater? And I can't knock these people because they're really in the moment. They're doing this for the movie. They're not trying to annoy the audience. But it did sort of remind me of Robert De Niro in Cape Fear, if I'm being honest. I mean, this guy wouldn't, like, he was just on 11 throughout the entire movie. So let me know in the comments, have you guys ever been to a theater and there's always like, there's one guy or girl who is just so into the movie that they just have to vocalize it. And there were some scenes where like nobody was like laughing. He was the only person making noise. But not just laughing, but gasping at everything, and just, he was having a ball. I got to give him that, okay? But it was sort of funny. So diving into the cons, I'm going to say the villains, they do serve their purpose, but these are not villains you're going to be, writing a blurb about. Like, oh my God, we have just harvested the newest A-level type villain. No, these villains are, I think they're pretty predictable. There's definitely like a government trying to harness this power angle, and it gets out of control. There's a lot of cliches in this movie, of course. Also, at 2 hours, I think this movie could have been tightened up by at least like maybe 10 minutes. I do think it kind of lingers in certain areas where maybe it shouldn't. But overall, those are just minor grievances, and I think this was really, really fun and a major, major step up. And this is one of the few instances, because I'm the horror guy, right? Most of my stuff on the channel is horror related. And usually I would complain about them going in more of a non-horror direction, but a great movie is a great movie, and this was really, really fun. It works well as an action property, or action sci-fi. So, yeah, I'm looking forward for you guys seeing this. I think you're going to have a blast with it, and, it's just some more nice variety for the year. I think the year is starting to shape up as a better year for movies. We had a slow start, but I think things are definitely picking up. So, I'm going to give this one a purchase worthy for sure. I did not expect to say that. I'm shocked. As Nick was giving me crap. He was like, I guarantee you he's going to say, I'm shocked on the thumbnail or something like that. So I'm going to put that on there for Nick. But let me know what you guys think of Megan 2 in the comments. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays. We do FIFA Fridays. Follow me, Drumdums, on my socials. Support me on Patreon. Become a channel member. Buy me a coffee. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Drumdum out.